Morning, I'm Tamishi. I think you're muted.
Good morning.
Morning. So just letting you know, we are live on YouTube right now, as per, the invite. So I'm probably going to be muted up until 10. Actually, let me turn that down. I can hear it on YouTube now. Alrighty. Let's see. Do you know, when did you get your card?
2 days ago.
Okay, so we are in compliance with that then. This doesn't have to be informational.
No. Which means informational.
Yeah, I didn't get my mail in the last 2 days, and I saw it today, and I was like, oh, I wonder when it came.
Oh no, we at least I got mine more than 24 hours from the meeting. I got mine. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay, well, I just pulled mine out today. Let's see. I have got. So is Sean gonna do the financials, or are you gonna do that?
I hope Sean's going to do it.
Okay, because I got the email and I'll share
the financial statement.
Yes. And I know you and I are up for re-election in March. Who is the third person? Because I know there was one more.
There is no third person. It's just you and I.
It's just you and I? Oh, okay. Perfect.
And I asked, I had a conversation with Lisa this morning, and she was a little confused. Well, she wasn't confused. I mean, we had certain habits that we had before the new bylaws, and the bylaws basically state that we run for election as commissioners with a 3-year term, but the commissioners get together and elect officers every year. So
yes.
the term of officers is yearly.
Yes. So you and I will be re-elected.
We don't put ourselves to the entire membership for our position as officers.
Yes.
The officers are elected by the commissioners.
Yes.
Or the member and for the Lake-Bullard Association is the board of directors. So the board of directors elect the officers for the Lake-Bullard Association.
Yes. So in March we will have 2 elections. One would be to see if you and I are re-elected to the board.
Commission.
To the
and
commission.
The board of directors, correct.
And then we will have a second election where everyone would have to be elected to their position of treasurer, president, vice president, secretary, except the commissioners at large.
Correct.
Okay, we are on the same page. All right, well, I'm gonna start admitting people in. I see Lynette is asking to join. And like I said, I'm gonna pretty much have my camera off because I'm still preparing a few things. I'm gonna be muted and have my camera off until we start. I might just, let everybody know that where they are, but so you won't see or hear me for the next 13 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
Lynette, waiting for you to unmute yourself.
Sorry.
How you doing, Lynette?
I'm doing okay. I caught up doing something else and realized, God, I'm missing the meeting.
great. I need a class on how Brian just did that.
It's real easy when you do about 3 or 4 Zoom meetings a day. That Zoom meeting seemed to be my life right now. So learning how
While you're doing that, explain that to me. How do you take a file and put it on Zoom?
So you have to be the host of the meeting in order to do that in
Okay.
most cases. But as host, I can allow other people to share. But as host, it's really simple. I just really have a button that says share screen, and then I have it set up with all of the different things that we're going to do, and I can just switch back and forth between them really easily.
Okay.
But yeah,
I know it's early.
I've seen that word. I've seen that word share.
Yeah.
Yeah, share screen.
Everyone will have that, but it won't work for everyone unless you're the host or unless they have it open. Most places or most people who host meetings, like I don't let anyone share a screen because if people just start doing it during the meeting, it would be disruptive.
You know, I thought the meeting was at 9 and I was like really late.
Oh, no, we're always at 10.
A little early. All right. Well, I'm gonna mute myself, but you know, I'll be back in at 10.
Perfect.
How you doing, Rosalind?
Do you want to be able to talk? When it's unmuted, keep in mind we can hear everything you say. You understand?
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And for those I haven't seen, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Same here. Same here.
Good morning, everyone. We're just waiting for a few more board members and residents to join. We should have about 23 or 24 people total once we're good to go. So we're just gonna kind of hold off a little bit before we start.
Oh, too cute.
We're just going to wait a few more minutes, but we should be good to start very shortly. Thank you for your patience. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to call the Lake-Bullard board meeting to order at 10:12 a.m. Happy New Year to everyone, and thank you for joining us. We're going to start with roll call. M. Tanishi St. Julian is present. Elton Newton is absent. Patricia Mitchell is present. Velma Johnson is present. Brenda Hogan is present. Brian Jordan is present. And we do have a quorum. We will move on to the approval of the minutes. Lisa, if you are on, can you start with the Lake-Bullard HOA minutes? Are you there, Lisa?
I'm so sorry. I thought I was unmuted.
Oh, no problem.
Okay. All right, let me start again. So the meeting was called to order at 10:55 a.m. This was after the Neighborhood Improvement District meeting started. Present for the meeting were Brian Jordan, Velma Johnson, Al Parker, Brenda Hogan, M. Tamishi St. Julian, Patricia Mitchell, and Alton Newton. The quorum was met. New business covered a vote on bylaws, and Velma Johnson made a motion to approve the Lake-Bullard Homeowners Association bylaws as presented. Brenda Hogan seconded, and the motion passed. Al Parker made a motion to adjourn the meeting. Alton Newton seconded, and the motion passed. And the Lake-Bullard Homeowners Association meeting adjourned at 10:57 a.m. Do we have any changes to the minutes?
Can I get a motion to accept the Lake-Bullard Homeowners Association meeting from August 22nd?
I move to accept the meetings minutes.
It has been properly moved, and I think M. Tamishi tried to, you're muted.
I tried. I'll second.
Okay, it has been properly moved in second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, can we move on to the Lake-Bullard Improvement District meeting?
Okay. The meeting was called to order by President Brian Jordan at 10:07 a.m. Present were Brian Jordan, Velma Johnson, Al Parker, Brenda Hogan, M. Tamishi St. Julian, Patricia Mitchell, Alton Newton, and the quorum was met. Minutes from the September 21st, 2019 Homeowner Association and Improvement District meetings were read. Minutes from the June 27th, 2020 Improvement District meeting was read. A motion to approve minutes was made by Velma Johnson and seconded by Brenda Hogan. The motion passed. Under new business, Chase Ferguson gave a presentation on flock safety. This is a program which includes license plate readers. The system uses FBI data to check for stolen cars, Amber Alerts, etc., and can send real-time alerts to law enforcement. The system can also search for vehicles with specific characteristics, such as make or color of the vehicle. Information can only be released for official use. Information is stored in the cloud and deleted after 30 days. Residents can opt out if they do not want their license plates visible to the system. The system uses solar panels and cellular service, so resident power sources and internet are not required. The system comes with 2 6-foot poles. Taller poles can be provided for an additional amount, and software is leased. Cameras are $2,000 per camera per year or a 2-year agreement. Block Safety will remove all cameras at the end of the agreement. Next on the agenda was a vote on bylaws. Changes suggested from the last 2 meetings were incorporated into the bylaws. Board members will serve 3-year terms. The oldest serving members' terms will expire first. Elections will be held in March. Expirations for 2021 are Brian Jourdain and M. Tumishi St. Julian. Expirations in 2022 are Velma Johnson and Alton Newton. Expirations in 2023 are Patricia Mitchell, Brenda Hogan, and Al Parker. All streets will have one block captain except Stillwater and Bullard, which will have two. Velma Johnson made a motion to adjourn the Lake-Bullard Neighborhood Improvement District meeting so that the Lake-Bullard Homeowners Association could be convened for a vote on the bylaws. Brenda Hogan seconded. The motion passed and the Lake-Bullard Neighborhood Improvement District meeting adjourned at 10:55 a.m. A motion to reconvene the Lake-Bullard Neighborhood Improvement District meeting was made by Velma Johnson. The motion was seconded by Brenda Hogan. The Lake-Bullard Neighborhood Improvement District meeting was reconvened at 10:57 a.m. Next on the agenda was a vote on the 2021 budget resolution. M. Tumishi St. Julian presented the budget and stated that $1,000 would be reprogrammed from the camera program to be added to the contingency line item in the amount of $500 and to postage in the amount of $500 for meeting notices. Brenda Hogan entered a motion to approve the 2021 budget. The motion was seconded by Velma Johnson, and the motion passed. Next on the agenda was security update. Chief Reginald Rowe presented a pie chart with crime incidents. Patrolling hours are being split between daytime and nighttime. NOPD will do more patrolling in Lake-Bullard. Residents are urged to call NOPD to report incidents to maintain stats showing the need for patrols. A poll will be issued to residents to capture whether they have seen patrols, what type of patrols, SEAL or NOPD, and the time of day. Patrols may occur on foot as well as in vehicles. 3 SafeCam NOLA cameras were installed, and residents can have them installed even if they are not in areas determined to be strategic locations by NOPD and SEAL. 11 locations are still open that need cameras. These cameras are better quality than the ICAM cameras that were installed earlier, and they do not need Wi-Fi to operate. These cameras are tied to NOPD, and Lake-Bullard residents can get a discount. The cost is $350 to install and $200 per year to maintain, which can be paid monthly. During the Q&A period, there was discussion on the large number of trucks traveling on Bullard, and City Council member Wynn and the mayor's offices have been contacted about the issue. City enforcement of the no truck route is needed by ticketing the trucks, which are shaking homes, causing potholes and spilling debris. All residents are encouraged to contact the city to report this activity. M. Tumishi made a motion to adjourn the meeting. Brenda Hogan seconded, and the meeting of the Lake-Bullard Neighborhood Improvement District was adjourned at 11:50 a.m.
Okay. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes for the Lake-Bullard Improvement District meeting?
I'll make that motion.
It's been moved by M. Tumishi. Can I get a second?
I second it.
Seconded by Velma. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we are going to be moving on
Okay, good.
to new business, and we're going to begin with a security update. So I wanted to start this off because over the past few weeks and mostly in the last few days, I've received a few requests to know the hours of patrol. And I've also received a request to ask, well, how is security doing? So I wanted to first give one of the residents, if she'd like to speak on it, the opportunity to ask. Ms. Roslyn, are you there? You're muted. Let me see if I can.
Okay, I'm unmuted now.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I just had a concern about it because I don't ever see any security anymore. And with the 7th district and the lower 9th ward being the highest crime, having the highest crime rates in the city, which came out by City Hall the other day. I'm really concerned. We had a murder in our community on Christmas Day. I understand someone was sexually assaulted on Windrock. a vehicle was stolen from in front of my home in August. So there's crime. I'm not seeing security, and I feel that I understand why you and one other person are the only ones who know the hours of security. But I feel like if we are active in the association, in the improvement district, if I ask for this information, I have a right to have it. And so not only that, it helps me to become vigilant. If I know the hours of security, then those non-hours, I can protect my home, my property, my life, you know, in other ways. I mean, I can look out more, I can maybe do something else, but I just feel like I have a right to that information. And, you know, I wanted to ask that we vote on it, because if I'm the only one that feels that way, okay. But I just feel like it's only fair that we all have access to that information. So I you know, motion that we vote on it and see if
Okay,
everybody
so-
else has something.
So to talk about that a little bit more, you're right. The 7th district, we have the worst crime. We currently have 92 police officers, which is less than we had a year ago. Last year, we had 96 police officers. NOPD is losing officers to other, basically they're getting out training here and then they're leaving to go places where they're paid more. It happens all the time, but even with 96 officers, it's not enough. We need way more than that. When it comes to the hours of private security, so the board voted when we hired SEAL to keep the hours private because we can only afford 8 hours a day. And the issue is, you're not the first resident to ask, well, because you're active, you come to all of our meetings, we stay in touch, can you have the hours? One of the issues is it's kind of all or nothing. Either all residents have the hours or no residents have the hours. We can't piecemeal who actually gets them.
I'm
So-
not saying, excuse me, Brian, I'm not saying just give it to me. I'm saying if an active member asks for the information, they have a right to it. I'm not saying go and publish it to all residents. If you're not interested in it, fine. But if you ask, if I come to meetings and I ask you for it, then I feel like I have a right to have that information.
Would you be surprised to know that most homeowners associations that have private security do not give their hours to their residents? Spring Lake.
They
does
don't give
not.
them to any of their residents?
Any of their
or
residents.
They don't publish it to all of their residents?
They don't give it to any of their residents. Spring
Well-
Lake does not. McKendall Estates does not. I believe Lake Forest Estates does not. Because the issue is the more people that know the hours, it makes us more vulnerable. If we,
Mhm.
and again, I can't just say active members. If anyone requested it, and the people who are breaking in our cars, they're organized. They are organized, and there are several teams that hit several different places. If we give it to every resident who asks for it, how can I verify someone's a resident? If someone calls me and asks for it, it could be their cousin, it could be, I really believe that
I'm not saying give it to people who just call you randomly.
But if I
And
give
not
it to
only
one
that,
resident, I have to
but-
give it to every resident.
okay, well, do you feel that crime is any better? I mean, you know, has the crime problem gotten any better since we are keeping this information private? Because we
So-
still have crime. I don't see where it's really helping just because only a couple of people have that information.
So again, we only pay for 8 hours a day of security. That leaves us vulnerable for 16 hours. If anyone on here is believing that 8 hours of security that we pay for is going to eradicate crime, I will tell you that that's never going to happen. Now, what we notice is crime doesn't happen when security is on, or it doesn't happen often when security is on because the criminals, they go to other neighborhoods when it's on. We don't give out the hours, but it's obvious to know that our hours are primarily at night. They are primarily night and overnight. Occasionally, we will do split hours during the daytime. If, let's say, one of the subdivisions close to us has been getting hit in the day and we feel like we're next, we'll move them to the days, but our hours are primarily overnight. it's not that difficult to guess what they're around. But when security is on, we have very few crimes. But even with that, we don't have none because we have multiple streets that need to be patrolled and we have one vehicle. The criminals, again, they're organized. They distract one of they'll try to distract one of the officer or the officer and then have someone break in on another street. There's no way that we're going to end crime without private security. We have to start looking at private security as a supplement to NOPD. It's not a replacement. It will never be a replacement. If that's what we're looking for, it would cost us a lot more than $350 a year. I mean, in order to have 24, we're going to go through the financials in a little bit, and you see that the majority of the money that we actually get from Lake-Bullard residents goes towards security. If we tried to increase those hours, we would need to almost double what we get from residents yearly in order to have 16 hours covered. In 24 hours, we would need to triple it. We would have to pay on par of what Eastover or some of the subdivisions like English Turn, we would have to pay monthly over $1,000 in order to have 24-hour-a-day security, where security will be 100% effective, or not even 100% effective, but more effective. But there's no way that 8 hours a day is going to end all of the crime in our subdivision. I do believe that it stops some of it, not all of it, but it's what we can afford.
In support of, can I speak?
Yes, please.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
In support of the request that Ms. Rosalind has, I find that to be very reasonable. She's not asking that the system change or that the rules change. She's simply asking that if she requests some information, that as a resident, she should be provided with that information. Now, what I would like to submit regarding all of the comments made, both by the persons who are in charge, is this. What I get from that discussion is that the 8 hours that we are paying for is totally inadequate and it is rendering nothing per se. So therefore, I would like to submit, if it is not rendering any benefit, then discontinue it, because what we have is perceived security, not really any security. So that if we are in a reactive mode and not in a proactive mode and not in the mode for eliminating the crime, then we should just simply delete that expense and let us get together, brainstorm, and come up with another method of protecting the neighborhood.
So I 100% disagree with that statement, that it is perceived security. We get what we pay for. We can't afford 24 hours a day, but I promise you, and I promise you, if we got rid of our security, the crime in our neighborhood would go up exponentially. If they knew that no one was patrolling, our crime would go up. There is no way that that wouldn't happen, because these groups that are going around, again, they're organized. They're looking for any opportunity, and Lake-Bullard is a premier residential neighborhood. We have nice homes. I see fancy cars driving around. We have manicured lawns. We're a nice subdivision. We would be a prime target if we had no security at all. So perceived security, I really think that that's false. And I also don't believe going in well, either we have zero crime or no security. I think that's also a false equivalency. I'm really sorry, but I respectfully disagree with that. I think the security helps as much as it can, but I think residents are looking for security as an end-all be-all to crime, when you guys should be going after city council members, NOPD, for why they're not here. We pay $350 a year to Lake-Bullard for supplemental security, but we pay a lot more in taxes to NOPD. We pay a lot more in taxes for city services that we don't get. So a lot of the frustration that I feel is coming towards Lake-Bullard because we're not eliminating crime, or we don't know the hours of crime, or I'm sorry, the hours of patrol. I feel like that energy really needs to be redirected towards the place with the budget to actually help us, to the people who actually make decisions that can actually make our community better. So I'm sorry, but respectfully, I disagree that that's the case, that we should find some other way. There's really no other way other than private security, because I can't.
Brian, you feel comfortable because you know when they're patrolling. A lot of residents do not feel comfortable because we don't see them. So therefore, it is perceived in the minds of a lot of us. We know we pay the taxes. We know we have security. We don't ever get to see them. NOPD is supposed to be out here, but we know that there are budget shortages. Also, if you drive up Lake Forest Boulevard and you make a right on Crowder and you kind of circle that little area, you'll see two, 3 cars any time of the day, but they're not out here. And they know we have private security. So I think they give us less attention because we have private security, and they're letting them be our only source of security 8 hours a day. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying. You feel better because you know when they're patrolling us. We don't know because we don't see them. I'm not up in the middle of the night if that happens to be when they're on duty. I appreciate what you're saying. I appreciate what they do. But I think the perception of a lot of people is they're not out here because we don't see them. I suggest we vote. Can we take a vote on it?
Well, so one, we can't vote on that today because that would have to be an announced vote. We would have to vote on that at another meeting. It would be for the board to decide. And again, we voted on this when we hired Seal. We voted on this almost 2 years ago when we hired Seal, and we gave our reasoning back then why we wanted to keep the hours private. And I don't really see that anything has changed. And again, there's no way to say we're going to only give it to residents who ask for it. If we vote and say that, well, the securities will be for all residents will know. There is no a few people, only the people who request it. It's all or nothing. So we can't govern that way where we just say, oh, only the members who attend meetings can have it. It's all or nothing when it comes to that. But because people have asked, I will be more than happy to put it on the agenda for the March meeting after the elections. But I'm going to tell you already that I'm 100% against it because I think it will make us less safe. We're already not safe because NOPD is not here. We know that NOPD is not here, and 8 hours a day is not going to fix NOPD not being here. 8 hours a day with one officer who does not have policing powers is not going to replace NOPD. So you knowing the hours, I don't really see how that's a benefit. What would you actually get out of knowing the hours of security?
Peace of mind in knowing I have security in my subdivision.
You do have security in your subdivision. That's not up for dispute, though.
I want to know when, because when they're not securing our area, then I know I need to be careful. I know maybe I need to change the time I decide to go walk. I know that, I need to take other measures. If I want to feel like, they're not out there, I need to be secure. I have the option of looking into other measures to protect myself.
Excuse me, Brian. I'm open as a commissioner. I'm open to this discussion. I don't necessarily agree with that your conclusion that every resident, if we give this information to some residents, that every resident has to have it. I'm not saying that that ought to be the position of the commissioners, but I'm open for discussion, for further discussion. Not at this moment. I'm still thinking about it. I'm still open, but I would like to have more discussion among the commissioners on this issue and kind of reconsider and talk about it. And again, I would like to talk about it with our security service to get their experience on it, because the last time we did discuss this several years ago, but I want to have another discussion on it.
And that's fine. We can bring it up
I
at the,
totally agree with that point of view. Give the opportunity for others to indeed hear what the request is, and then to act upon it after you have gotten the opinion or the feelings or whatever of, if not the total residents, but the folks who represent us. Thank you, and Tamisha, that is very reasonable.
and again, I do agree. We can discuss it at the next board meeting. We can have people present their cases. I will say, I think you misunderstood a little bit what I meant when I said it will be all or nothing. So what I'm saying is, we don't have to blanket give it out to every resident, but if any resident asks, if we vote to say that the hours will be given to residents, I won't be able to deny any resident at all. If we give it to one.
I understand. I agree with that. I mean, if there's adequate proof that the resident is in fact a resident, I agree with that.
We would have to give that to them, but then there's no way to go ahead and say, well, who is that person going to give the hours to? That's the issue. It's not that I don't want residents to know, but if they give it, if they tell their son, if they tell their cousin, if they tell someone who's coming to their home, now more people know it. It can never be confined to just the board and the residents. It will always get out. And I tell you, if those criminals know our hours, our crime will go up.
Well, criminals are smarter than us when it comes to the willful things that they do. And please don't let it be of a surprise to any of you or to the residents. If I would share with you that yesterday we had a prowler in the neighborhood for a period of about 4 hours. He walked on Waverly, walked up to the doors, shook on doors. He shook on the statue that I have in front of my home. And may I submit that that is the second statue. One was stolen before. Then he walked down Waverly, took a right onto Stillwater, did not walk down the other street, but went to Lake Forest. In the meantime, he is dressed in a situation in the form of a homeless person, you would say. And he had a stick, long stick that he was walking with. He got to Lake Forest, he got in front of the bank, he stopped, paused. At that point, he took about 3 minutes. He pulled up his pants and he ran across. He's no longer walking as if he needed the stick. He's no longer walking like a crippled person or like a homeless. He ran across Lake Forest and went to the bus stop right there at Walgreens. He stood there, sat, and he looked around. After that, about 3-4 minutes later, he stood up, pulled up his pants again, and ran across Bullard. I thought he was going to the gas station, but he didn't. He made the corner and he went into the Rite Aid. In the meantime, a resident on Waverly called the authorities. I called the authorities after the resident gave me the information. That's the reason why I was present. That's the reason why I can provide you with his itinerary. I called the police. They began to question me. Was I following that person? Because I gave them specific details. And to this moment in time, from yesterday to today, No one came. We had no police present. We had no response to the callers. I left my caller ID. They knew what number I was calling from. I gave them my name and I gave them the number again. We have not heard from anyone. Now, when going back to the discussion and the request that Ms. Roslyn has, when I said perceived security, it is not to offend anyone because I don't hold any member of the association responsible for what the security company does. You simply hire them. And in so doing, when you pay, however minimum, you expect that the work be done at the best of their ability using their expertise. And why I say perceived security is because I see the photo cam cars that are parked, where they park, and when they move, and where they move them, and so on. And I, as a non-criminal, I just look at them and say, oops, that's the decoy car. So if I can draw that conclusion at my age and as a resident, so can the perpetrator. So I do request that indeed, with all due respect to Mr. Jordan, that you do not make that decision singly, but you take into account the opinion of all residents who do pay the $350 or the ones who do not, because
And for the record,
don't,
this
you
was
know,
not my decision.
eventually they have the concept, and I'm not debating. I don't want to get into a
It's not a
one-on-one.
debate.
I
I didn't
simply
make this
want to
decision
say that
myself.
if a resident who is at this moment, Ms. Malter, she requested something and Tamisha submitted his opinion, which is very reasonable, then indeed, outside of the March meeting, that some actions take place so that that is discussed, that is there, she's interviewed, I'm interviewed, others are interviewed to find out what is the consensus. And then you can make a decision as our representative with a consensus to the public, not necessarily your opinion or your decision, because it is not.
And again, I did not make this decision on my own at all. This decision was made by the entire board that I was a member of. This was discussed with all of the residents in person at New Orleans East Hospital.
Brian, we need, I think we need to move on. And I think as
I agree.
commissioners, we need to talk among ourselves to reevaluate what's going on. We may come to the same decision. We may be forced to come to the same decision, but I think we owe an obligation because of the requests of our members. We need to reevaluate where we are at this time. And that's what my request to do so.
Agreed. We will add this.
I think we need to move on.
Agreed. We will add this to the March meeting, but I just wanted to reiterate that I never made this decision myself. I want that to be part of the record because a lot of residents believe that I am the only one holding all of the residents from knowing the hours when that is not the case. So we can go ahead and move on to a different aspect of the security. I did promise that I would share crime stats from the security company. And I'm going to show you this screen. I know it's very small. I'm going to zoom in on parts of it. This is all of the crimes that have happened while Lake-Bullard, while SEAL was on patrol. Only the 8 hours they were on patrol, things that they've actually had to deal with. And as you can see, not many things happened. This is the entire year of last year, 2020. Not many things happen when they're on patrol. Most of the things happen in the 16 hours that they are not on patrol. But I did say that I would make the analysis that I get to see in my dashboard available to residents. Make it a little bit bigger so people can see. These are just.
Can I ask something? This example that you're sending with all these incidents, is this strictly for Lake-Bullard or is this in New Orleans East?
This is just Lake-Bullard. We're only dealing with Lake-Bullard information and only for the 8 hours a day that SEAL patrols Lake-Bullard. So obviously,
And the bulleted items, would we be able to cross-check that to the streets or the location that the crime took place?
yeah, so I can, and I've showed this in my dashboard before, I can actually see each of these would be an entire, excuse me, each of these would be an entire report telling me what exactly happened, how it was resolved, if police was involved, and everything of that nature. So yes, all of these bullet points, this is just a chart showing everything that's happened on their watch over the 12 months. And most of you know that, well, we've had car break-ins very frequently. So this piece of data, I believe, is helpful at showing that, well, we don't have many break-ins that happen when they're on patrol. We have some, but
And
not.
this, excuse me, and this data is from SEAL. Are they the ones who prepare it, or is it the police department?
This is from SEAL. This is
From
prepared
Okay,
automatically.
so then it would be easy to get that information to find out the locations and, you know.
Yes,
what
I
happened.
like any of these incidents, I can actually find the location. I can find pictures, and I can find an actual report written by the SEAL's officers.
Okay. All right.
So, and this is just basically the same thing. Some of these, you can't really read some of them up there, but it'll tell you that, okay, so we had one unsecured vehicle in 2020, hazard safety, let's see, emergency medical. So all of the reports that happen when SEAL are on duty, that are actual incidents that they deal with, are few. When they're not on duty, they are a lot more. You know, so what I'm going to do, because I know this is hard to read, I'm going to have Lisa send this out to every resident so they'll be able to examine it. And if anyone wants information on any of these issues that's happened, I'm always free to discuss things that have happened in the past.
I got a proposal. May I propose something? I mean, it would be a cost with sending it to all residents, and they might receive it and wonder why or what is. But at least to the people present in this meeting that know what this discussion is all about, maybe that would help us.
So we send it to the
understand
Lake-Bullard
position.
email list, which is mostly the people who attend the meetings. The people who we have emails for are the ones who have come to at least one meeting. So when I say we'd send it out to all residents, I'm talking about emailing it to the group list that we've got. Is that okay?
Well, it's your decision, so it is okay with me. You don't have my email.
We don't have your email?
No.
If we can get it.
Because I didn't have an email. I'm 76 years old. And in this subdivision, we have lots of 76. We even have a 90-year-old. So we're not all connected.
Yes, agreed. Well, I will work out a way to get you a copy of it so that you can go through it. If you can give me your phone number in private chat, I can call you, and if I've got to print it out and bring it to you, I will.
I'll secure an email and I will submit it so that you'll have it.
Perfect, thank you.
But my daughter is also registered. She has an email, and I don't think she receives any information, so that the email is used for the moment when you attend the meetings, but outside of that, do we submit information to these folks that are registered on the email?
Yes, actually, whenever a crime happens or there's an incident in the neighborhood, one of our residents suggested that we send out updates. So if someone breaks in a car, you should have got an email, I want to say last week, there was a car break-in. We actually send out an update saying, hey, there was a car break-in that just happened on the corner of this and that. Please secure your cars. We've been sending out basically crime updates through that email as well.
Yeah, she received once, and it was an attempted break-in. It was not an actual break-in, and that was once. And she had been attending many, many times. And we know that we had more than one break-in.
We've only started those since October. So that's very new. But we've sent out more than just one, but we've only started sending them out for the past couple of months.
Okay, so once that is revisited, maybe you can check to see why it's not being received or sent or whatever.
We'll double check to make sure we've got the right email.
Thank you.
Okay, we are moving on to the next agenda item, which is the 2020 year-end financial report. Is Sean Bruno still on? All right, let me get the report up for everyone to see.
Can you hear me, Brian?
Yes, sir. I'm actually going to go ahead and share the report on the screen so you guys can follow along.
Sure. And look, Brian, one thing that I wanted to add as well, with respect to this crime issue, I'm also working with the sheriff's office, and I know Eastover has now contract with the same company that we have to do our security. So we do have, a lot of patrols, a lot of coverage. Look, I walk every morning at 6 o'clock.
I see you every morning at 6 o'clock.
So from 6 to 7:30, I'm walking. I'm always noticing, individuals walking down the street. I always pay attention, always try to look at them. And I can tell you, one morning I was starting to walk. I live on Nottaway, walking toward Bullard, and a car came flying by, which just kind of bothered me. A car driving so fast at that time of morning, and it came so close to me, I just stopped and turned around. Well, 3 young men jumped out and they started putting on door handles. So I immediately got on my phone, called NOPD, told them what was happening. They were at the end of Nottaway. Before I could get back to, if I could have got to my vehicle, I would have got out and put my lights on. But they kind of sped around. I saw them on Fernley, again, putting on door handles. So we got to be vigilant about locking our vehicles, but we also got to be vigilant about, if we see that, to call NOPD and if possible, give a description of the vehicle. I did call, I gave a description, I told them exactly which way I saw the vehicle went. The strange thing about it, and how bold and brazen these guys are, I finished walking that Saturday. I decided to, at that point, cut my grass. While I'm cutting my grass, that same vehicle came back. And that's what really bothered me, is that I don't know if they came and the first time they saw something and they wanted to come back. So at this time, I stepped into the middle of the street to make sure that they could see me watching them, and then they just kind of sped off. So it's just really important for us to be, vigilant. If you see something, call the police, call our security, and let them know. And as best you can, give a description. And the reason why that's important is because these same vehicles are being used
Over and over.
throughout the city. So when I see something and I report it to my sheriff, they'll call NOPD and they'll call me back and say, hey, yeah, that vehicle just did a crime in Lakeview. So they're either stealing vehicles in New Orleans East, and in some cases taking those same vehicles, going to Lakeview, and either putting on doors. About 2 months ago, my legal counsel was in his vehicle and they pulled on his door handle while he was in the vehicle. And look, it's tough.
Can we move on to the agenda item that we were on, please? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be rude, but
No,
Let him finish, please.
I think my only point is that we have to reach out to NOPD and give a description, because if we give them a description, they can use that information to try to get these individuals when they're in other areas of the city doing crime.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And yes, please call NOPD if you see anything.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I agree.
So with respect to the financial statements, so the first financial statement is a statement of financial position, also called a balance sheet. The balance sheet or statement of position gives you an idea of where you're at a given point in time. So at December 31st, 2020, we had total assets of $118,986. Currently, we assess every resident $350. That money is collected by the city of New Orleans and is held by the Board of Liquidations. So in our Board of Liquidations account, we have $82,501 at the end of the year. In our personal bank account, because during the year, we will go in and we will draw the funds that we need to operate. In that account, we have $36,485 for a total of $118,986. So we do have some, enough cash reserves to kind of help us start 2021. The next statement is statement of activities. This is also commonly known as the income statement. It shows our revenues and our expenses. So as you can see, our total revenues for the year totaled $102,812. That consists of basically three components. The special tax assessments, $101,327. That's the amounts that were collected during the 2020 year from our residents. The bulk of that collection is from 2020. There was about 7,000 of that is tax assessments from prior years that was collected in the current year. And the other revenues of $1,000, that's just some miscellaneous reimbursements. What we did was we had purchased some tickets to the Christmas event in 2019, and residents purchased those tickets. So that was the amount that we were reimbursed for those tickets that we purchased in 2019. So again, total revenues, $102,812. Our total expenses total $74,476. And as you can see, the bulk of our funds go to our security program, as it should. We also have professional services of $3,275. Our assigned maintenance is $2,000, and we've invested thus far $1,650 into our security camera program. So these expenses are pretty much our normal expenses, pretty much the same as we've done from year to year. There's not, much of a difference. I think the biggest thing is we had less this year because of the pandemic. We did not have Night Out Against Crime. We didn't do anything for Christmas. So our expenses were lower this year because of the pandemic. But we ended the year with a surplus of $28,336. So again, we do have a healthy ending fund balance. So we have reserves to kind of move forward. And the very last statement that you have there is I just break out all of the expenses by month, by line item. So you can see exactly where the funds are spent on a monthly basis. So as of right now, we're pretty healthy. We have cash in the bank. We have control of our expenses. With respect to our budget, we're under our budgeted numbers. So we're in good financial position. And I'm welcome to take any questions, Brian.
Thank you very much for that. I did have one question, and I think I'm just misremembering. The sign maintenance, that's $2,000 a year. I really thought it was a little bit more than that. And Tamisha,
well, I don't know if we have, and MT, you may want to respond to that. I don't know if it's a given amount. I think when we need maintenance, we'll reach out to the company to come and spruce things up. But that's all we spent in 2020.
Yes.
Yes, our budget and contract is $1,000 a quarter. What happened is we got invoices late, and I paid monies in this year for last year. So it's not showing up in 2020.
Okay, because I thought it should have been 4,000.
The contract that we have for the maintenance of the sign is $1,000 a quarter.
Yes, gotcha.
Can I make another comment, clarification?
Please.
We can, move to the expenditures. If you can roll it up to the expenditures. Another thing people will notice based upon the budget is we didn't pay this year any insurance costs. That was because I really didn't get an invoice, and I must honestly say I didn't push it. I will again check for that expenditure. Number two, we still didn't get more people based upon the budget in our budget camera program. Our camera program budget is $4,000, but the number of people who stepped forward and requested cameras, we only expended about $1,650 this year. So again, if more people are interested in participating in the camera program, we do have, based upon the budget, we do have budgetary monies available to accommodate more people. There was one more comment I wanted to make. I think that was it. Those were the two major items that I wanted to make comments for.
For the insurance, do you have an
one more thing. One more thing. Last year, the board on the particular line item of cleaning and beautification, the board did approve about $1,000 for us to clean up and put up new Lake-Bullard signs. Because of COVID, the sign companies, it was difficult dealing with the sign companies, and we weren't asking for enough signs to interest them to put up. Sean had worked with the state of Louisiana. They were supposed to put forward a beautification grant for Eastern New Orleans, and Sean was trying to get us involved in that so we could double that amount so that we could get some economies of scale and get about 10 banners to put up.
And MP, that's
The
still a
challenge we
possibility.
had, excuse me?
That is still a possibility. I will reach out to those folks this week because I think I worked with them and got some headway on that. So I will follow with those guys this week.
The great challenge that we have, it costs almost as much for these companies to get up and take down the old paraphernalia than it is to put up new signs. So we have to be very strategic in how many signs we put up, knowing that if there is a problem, it's going to be very, very costly to start pulling down and changing and replacing other signs. So we talked about if we're going to put up more Lake-Bullard signs, that we'd try to do about 10, and we could manage that number rather better and more economically than trying to put up 5, let's say.
Can I request a clarification? When you say signs, are you speaking of the
banners.
cloth banners that are there?
That is correct, the banners. Right now, I think we, after the storms and so forth, I think we might have no more than about 2 that's actually have survived.
And the ones that survive look very tattered. So actually, we might need to just replace all of them.
That's correct, and that's why we're talking about hopefully a 10, and that's why we haven't moved on it. And that's why we didn't spend that money in 2020. So that's all I'm trying to do right now is explain. You're going to see certain line items that we had in the budget that we did not spend in 2020. That's like a carryover in 2021.
Tamisha, the insurance, since you said we haven't got an invoice for that, do you have an estimate of about what that's going to cost? Because we will have to pay it when we get the invoice. So I was just
We've been spending approximately $4,000 a year in insurance.
Okay, thank you very much. Does any residents have any questions, concerns, or comments regarding?
I have a question. What do we pay insurance on?
This is liability insurance, board and commissioners insurance.
Okay. Okay.
And that's a requirement for every body governed by the legislature?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think that's a requirement, but it is usually prudent for boards to have that kind of insurance.
Gotcha. Do we have any other questions or comments? Okay, We don't need to actually vote on that. That's just informational, correct?
That is correct.
All right, so we will move on to the next agenda item, which is,
But it's clearly valuable, important, especially based upon the previous conversation.
yes,
I think Ms. Ewings brought up the issue of, security service is just one aspect of security. In my view, one of the important things that we accomplished in 2019 was putting up that big boy camera that's on Stillwater. I think personally, I think it has some effect. Putting up the smaller cameras on individual houses, which we still have the capability of doing, has some effect. So when we look at the budget, there is some minor adjustments that could be made to do that. And there's some discussions that we can still have with NOPD. And I would certainly, when we have our private discussions with some of the board members, and again, let me clarify that so someone doesn't get upset. As long as we don't have a quorum, board members can get together and have discussions without having a full meeting. And I suggest that we do that just to get the opinions of board members, and we can discuss what would it take and how do we get a group of people to talk to NOPD, for example, about what would it cost to get another big boy camera somewhere else in our subdivision if we think it has some positive effect on what's going on. That's just an idea. I don't want it in discussions right now,
Absolutely.
but I'm just throwing out some ideas.
All
Absolutely.
ideas are good.
Absolutely. And that camera on Stillwater, I do believe, is part of the reason why Stillwater hasn't been hit as much. They still do it, but it's not as much. And I don't know if you've noticed that there's a camera now on Lake Forest in Bullard that was not there before. So NOPD can track around our subdivision now. If they go to the left from where I am, depending on which way they're going down Bullard, they can track vehicles because they've got two of those big cameras. And the cameras in our subdivision, again, they're a help, but they're not as powerful as those blue and red cameras that they've got up.
Yeah,
I got a question. I have a
As a matter
question.
of fact, when I saw it, I wondered if the oak that was there may have impeded NOPD from finding whomever shot that young man. Because
They don't let us know exactly which way it
camera.
faces. Yeah, we don't know exactly which way it faces, but neither do the criminals. So that's good. Mr. Walker, you had a question?
Well, what's about that same camera at Bullard and Lake Forest? Was it helpful to the authorities to follow up on who shot the 14-year-old to death? So, and I often ask myself, how effective is the camera if you didn't catch that 14-year-old being shot?
And the cameras are only as effective as the city uses them. And again, I don't know if it caught it or if it didn't or not. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not up to date on exactly what video they've caught from it. They usually don't make stuff like that public.
Well, the only point I was trying to make in this subject matter right now, we're talking about the budget.
Yes.
If you look in the bylaws, the primary purpose of this meeting is to discuss the budget, because this is the time when we look at the budget and figure out and start preparing and see how we massage the budget in preparation of the August meeting, because that's the time that between now and August is the time when we start talking about next year's budget and what adjustments we need to make in preparation to present next year's budget to the city council.
Absolutely.
And that's the only reason why I'm trying to put this in context.
Yes.
And that's why this discussion in this presentation is so important. And that's the way it's set up in the joint bylaws. And why we have this meeting and this presentation, this formal presentation in this meeting in January.
Yes, thank you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on. The COVID-19 update. Did I share the right screen? So basically the COVID-19 update, I just wanted to let residents know it does not look like there's a strong possibility all of our meetings this year will be held via Zoom. I don't think we're going to be allowed to have in-person meetings. We can readdress this in June when they think a lot more people will be vaccinated to see if things have changed. But as I'm planning right now, or as I believe the board is planning right now, all of our meetings this year, unless there's a drastic change in COVID-19, will be on Zoom. So I just wanted to give everybody an update that this is our new normal until further notice.
Point of personal privilege.
Sure.
I got my first shot. My second shot is on the 27th. I got my shot from New Orleans East Hospital. They were great. The atmosphere over there was nice space. The staff was great. When I got the shot, I didn't even realize I had the shot. I had to ask the nurse, "Did you really give me that shot?" And she had to show me the syringe to prove that the stuff went in me. So it was great. So if you of that age, which right now I think is 70 and up, you can call New Orleans East Hospital. There is something that is going on because my wife was lucky enough. She's between 65 and 70. I don't want to tell her real age. She was lucky enough this week to get a shot from Daughters of Charity. And what apparently is happening at Daughters of Charity is that because the Pfizer is so delicate, once they take it out of freezer and they have their reservations for people who come in, and if those people don't come in, around the end of the day, they are afraid that they could lose that dose. And in order to prevent from losing that dose, then people who are, I don't know what their criteria is, but she went in around 4 or 5 o'clock over at Daughters of Charity and talked to them, and they were able to give her a Pfizer dose at the Daughters of Charity in the front of the hospital. So that's at least the information that I have. And hopefully the New Orleans East Hospital will get down to the 65s very, very soon. I don't know if Velma wants to comment on what's happening over there.
Thank you, M. Tamishi. I got my first shot as well. I'm planning to get my second one next week. But I do believe we get our direction from the governor. So as soon as he opens it up to 65, that age group or the other populations, then we will quickly notify everyone. But we have had a wonderful response in getting the vaccinations out. And I just hope that everyone does, if you haven't already gotten your vaccination, that you do the research and look at the facts. I myself got it, and everyone knows that I have health complications, and even myself, I got it, and I was fine. And I plan on getting the second one because it's better than catching COVID itself. So whatever fears you may have, it's better to just go ahead and get the vaccine than to actually catch COVID. So thank you.
Yeah, and look, I would like to add, I'll tell you, I did have COVID, and fortunately, I just lost a little taste and smell, a little cough, nothing serious. Today, we are vaccinating 500 sheriff deputies at Ochsner today. And I think, MT, to kind of piggyback on what you said, when they get these vaccines, what Ochsner's find that there's more in them than what was supposed to be. So if they told me, look, if you're vaccinating 500 staff, we will probably get 620 doses. So they told me, provide me a list of people that want to get vaccinated because they do not want this vaccine to go to waste. So I think the hospitals are doing the exact same thing. If you're at the hospital and it's getting toward the end of the day, they want to put the vaccine in arms. So even if you're not over 70, but if you want the vaccine, they will give it to you. I've talked to UMC and they said the exact same thing. They will not waste this vaccine. So they told me do me a standby list of 120 people, and we will start calling those people today to get them vaccinated.
I can echo that at New Orleans East Hospital. We're not going to turn anybody away. At the end of the day, if all the people that have reservations to come and they've gotten theirs, or if there's some people that don't show up, if there's extra, they're not going to let it go to waste. So if someone comes at the end of the day and they need it and we have it, you're going to get your vaccination.
Thank you guys very much for the updates on that. The next agenda item is the March elections. Mtamishi spoke about that a little bit in the beginning. So our next meeting will be in March, and the primary purpose of that meeting will be elections. It will actually be 2 elections. Mtamishi and myself, our terms expire, so we would be both up for re-election. And then after that election is done, the board will elect officers. So president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, all positions will be re-elected at the second part of the second elections of the day. I've got that right, Mtamishi?
No, that's correct.
Okay.
So those people might be interested in running. Please get ready. I think probably the notice will do that, and please put yourself up as a candidate. We need leadership in here, and I'll certainly invite people to come forward.
Yes. And so again, residents will vote on the new members of the commission, and then the board will vote on officers for the Lake-Bullard Improvement District. All of that will take place at the next meeting, which we will announce soon. We just have to pick a date for it, but it will happen in March as per the bylaws. Any questions on that?
Let me ask you this question. Will these minutes be available before the March meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh,
How do you go about getting it?
So it will be posted on the Lake-Bullard website, lakebullard.org. And I'll see if we can get Lisa to send it out to the email addresses we've got on file, but it will be available at lakebullard.org. I usually post them to the Lake-Bullard Facebook page and via email. So we'll send it out 3 ways. There's multiple ways. Anyone can get it if they want to. They just have to, if you're not a part of the email chain, you have to go to the website. That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
And the meetings, because we do them live on Zoom, these meetings are actually recorded. So if you go to the YouTube channel, the full meeting is available for you to review at any time. Once this meeting is over, it basically uploads. It takes a little bit of time to do that, but then you can watch the entire meeting again, or you can watch whatever part you want. So because they're online, they are recorded, and there is a record. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the question and answer period. So I'm going to go ahead and open the floor to any resident who'd like to make a question or a comment, and you'd have about 2 minutes to state your piece.
Hey, Brian, the only question I had is, do our lights work by the sign?
So, good question. Thank you for reminding me. So I'm not sure if everyone remembers, there was a car accident at the corner of Lake Forest and Bullard a while ago. That car accident took out the street light that was in front of the Lake-Bullard sign, and subsequently the electricity to our sign. The current sign, there's no power to it. Entergy has been made aware, and they've let me know that it's not a priority because it's not a home. So they have to basically fix our sign. It doesn't have power to it currently.
I don't think it's our sign. I think what we need to do is, and look, I will send Cindy one a text. I think it's more the street light.
Yeah,
Because that street light is not there, it does make it a dangerous intersection. When I
Yeah.
walk in the morning, it's extremely dark in that area, and that's a problem. I'll send Cindy one a text. I would recommend that others reach out as well, because if they fix the light, it'll reconnect our sign.
and so in my conversations with Entergy, which they have been many, they've told me that they can't figure out where the power for that streetlight and our sign is coming from. They said they have to dig, and I've seen them digging in areas along the median over the past couple of months, but their exact words to me was they don't know what the source of that power is, which is a little bit scary that they don't know where their own stuff is. But they have been out there trying to figure it out, but they haven't found it yet. So maybe, maybe Cindy Wynn can put a little bit of fire under them to get that, because until that light pole is back, which quite honestly, like you said, that's a safety concern. That light needs to be back. But until that light is back, we probably will not have power to the sign, which also means we don't have irrigation to the sign. It's fine doing this time of year because it's not so hot, but once we start getting into April where it starts warming up significantly, if there is no power, we're going to have to possibly pause the beautification and maintenance on that sign if we can, because we would just be wasting our money putting out flowers and then them dying in 100-degree heat. So I've got my fingers crossed that the city can move a little bit faster than that, but that accident has been a long time ago.
Right.
I have a question and a suggestion on that item
Please,
when I'm able.
you're able now.
Perhaps the suggestion is that perhaps as Lake-Bullard Improvement District and a commission, that we can use the power of the written media and correspond with Entergy or whomever is in charge in order for them to give us these answers in writing. Therefore, they would no longer become opinions, but they would be considered binding to the neighborhood. The question that I have also is with regard to the financial statement presented as part of the meeting. My question is, do we have an independent auditor of the income and expenses that we present yearly? Are these items audited by an independent auditor?
Well, based on the state guidelines, you're not required to have an audit. The board can certainly determine if they want to have an audit, but the cost of an audit would probably exceed, $5,000–6,000. You have such limited expenses. I think making the records available to anybody that wants to view them would give you guys a comfort as far as the expenditures. But whether you want to spend $6,000 to have an audit done, certainly you can, but it's up to the board.
What entity are you responding for? The Lake-Bullard Improvement or the commissioner?
Well, the Lake-Bullard Security District, they're bound by the guidelines of the state of Louisiana. Now, the Homeowners Association, I think you only have about $7,000 in that account. That certainly is not bound by the state, and it's totally bound by the board. But the security district has to follow state laws and state guidelines.
I guess each resident is going to have to attend a university then in order to be able to understand all of this, because right now it's a little fuzzy to me. But that was my question.
Julia, the legislative auditor gets a report every single year.
Okay.
So this is in lieu of a formal audit. because the formal audit is quite expensive for us. So on these smaller agencies, smaller governmental agencies like us, the state legislative auditor does get an annual report that we are required to send to it. And this is the reason why we have Sean, who is a CPA. We have Sean do the formal financial statements, and then we file a formal report to the state legislative auditor.
And this is in comparison with the best practices on all associations in the city, or is this something that we do in Lake-Bullard?
No, it's comparison. All
It's the same.
we are required by the legislative, by state policies and procedures to do this.
Okay.
But it's different. It depends on the amount of revenue collected. So for example, Eastover's fee is extremely larger than Lake-Bullard. So I do have to do a full audit of Eastover. So for Lake-Bullard, because of the amount of dollars that we collect, you're required to do what's called a compilation. While for Eastover, because of their fee is probably 3 times as high as what Lake-Bullard charges, they have to have a full-fledged audit. Most of the security district in the city, they probably collect right around the amount that you guys collect. So most of them do compilation. So you guys are comparable with most of the security districts throughout the state of Louisiana.
I have a question. So, because I know we're running out of time. So, Brian, are there any city meetings or in this district or in New Orleans East? I know you're a part of Enoch and you represent us. Are there any planned meetings coming up to talk about the crime or what the city plans to do about the crime in New Orleans East, especially since they came out and stated that the majority of the crime is happening in New Orleans East? So is there any planned discussions on what they plan to do about it?
So I have been contacted by presidents of additional homeowners associations, and we are currently trying to put together a forum that would include the subdivisions in New Orleans East and the police and possible city council. Nothing is set in stone yet, but people have reached out to try to organize that. I will remind everyone that every Wednesday, NOPD has on their Facebook page, well, I believe it's Wednesday at 6 p.m. Every Wednesday, Captain Gernon gets on and they actually answer questions about crime in New Orleans East. And the fourth Wednesday of every month is their big meeting. I'm gonna see if we can get that sent out at the actual times, because I may be misremembering them. But so you can actually interact with Captain Gernon and actually ask your questions about it. Because so I had a meeting with him 2 weeks ago and we discussed crime in the city. And that's why I was saying that we now have 92 officers instead of 96. He told me his frustrations that, well, people are retiring every other month, and then people are leaving to go to other departments across the country that pay more. Apparently, we train the best officers, but we don't pay them. We're comparable, but other places like New York, California, bigger cities pay better. So we end up losing the people who we've trained. He told me that they tried to put stipulations that, hey, you've got to stay an NOPD officer for 2 years if we train you. And they said there was something with the constitutionality of that you can't make someone stay there. He also did tell me that homeowners associations with private security have less crime than homeowners associations without, which is why I was saying earlier that I know our crime would go up with that. But he expressed his frustrations. He said that he knows that they're not doing enough, but they don't have the resources to do enough, which is the last point that I'd want to make on this. He also told me that NOPD is hiring. If you guys know anyone who is looking for a job, who has not been employed because of the pandemic, maybe they've lost their job, NOPD is hiring. Their salary starts at $40,000 a year. They pay you doing training, and you get benefits from day one.
Well,
they don't advertise that
as well.
They don't advertise that as much as they should. And I told him they need to actually advertise that, because I know a lot of people are looking for work. I know some people may not like the idea of becoming a police officer, but they are recruiting now and they're having a hard time filling up their classes. More officers will help New Orleans East. Even if they do a class of 10, we may get 2 or 3 officers. It's not a lot, but it takes some of the pressure off of the officers that are there and can possibly give us a little bit more time, because we don't get any time in the East. I don't know the last time I saw a cop car of an officer who didn't live here. So spread the word. If you know anyone looking, there are restrictions if you've got past criminal records, even for marijuana usage, but NOPD's website will go over all of that. But I just wanted to give that piece of information.
Well, we can't continue to allow convenient excuses from NOPD, because part of the problem is attitudinal.
Mhm.
It's yes, they may have a numbers problem, which we're sympathetic about that, but it's also attitudinal. And if they would have better management and supervision of their people, and also try to work on the attitude of the officers that they do have, we probably get better service than we're getting right now.
Ditto.
Absolutely. I agree with that, because I've seen firsthand police officers refuse to take security footage that we've got,
Right.
photos of cars. So it's more to that. There is frustration because they don't have enough officers, but it is definitely more than that. And you're absolutely right. There needs to be an attitude change, because these crimes are important to us. They may not be murders. Hopefully we don't get those, but they still affect us in our everyday lives. So absolutely. And hopefully once we can get a meeting with all of the residents of New Orleans East and board members and different homeowners association, we can tell them that, because I know that when it was our previous 7th district commander, I let him know that your officers refused to even take evidence that we had. We had residents who would put video on a thumb drive, willing to give it to them, or screenshots on their phone, and they said, we don't need it, and drove away. So,
excuse me, this is my first time attending the meeting here on Zoom, but I'm being called upon. I have another thing I have to do, so I just get off, or how?
So on Zoom, at the bottom right, there should be an end button.
Uh-huh.
If you click that, you will be able to exit this meeting and start your next one.
Okay, so I'm just letting you know that I'm going to be leaving the meeting because I have someone here.
No problem. You'll be able to see this, anything that you miss. Like I said, this meeting is recorded and it'll be made available.
Very well. Sorry about that.
Very much.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Well, that was the last part of my comment that I just wanted to make, that you are correct. It is also, it's not just a shortage of officers, but it's the attitude that needs to change with the officers as well. They need to treat us like we're important, and instead of just, oh, we'll get to that when we can.
So can I bring up something, just a different issue?
Yes.
And I know we have to go, so we can maybe discuss this at another time, but I live on Stillwater, and I'm starting to call it Stillwater Highway because of the rate of speed that the cars are traveling down on Stillwater.
Mhm.
Speedwater might be the right name. So I don't know if there's something that we can do in terms of more, and most of these are our residents, because I noticed the cars. So if there's something that we can do in terms of awareness. I know there are a few signs posted with the speed limit, but if there's something that we can do in terms of more awareness, I don't know if we can put speed bumps on our streets. I don't know if that's a legal thing or not, but something that we can do to address the rate of speed that these cars are driving down our street.
Gotcha. So speed bumps are not allowed unless you own your own streets, meaning
Okay.
Lake-Bullard would have to buy the streets. So we can't install speed bumps, but we can definitely look into additional ways, because you're right, people, especially Stillwater, I don't know why, but people fly down that street, especially when they go to make that turn on Fernley, and it's like, so we can definitely brainstorm and try to figure out some ways. We can send out some reminders of people that, hey, we do have children who live and play here. We have people who walk here,
Right.
We've asked the 7th district about putting a speed camera on a street, and they said they don't like putting them in residential neighborhoods. They'll put them outside. But we have tried to address that before, so we can work to do that as well. And if you know who they
I
are,
appreciate it.
if it's your neighbors that you're friends with or anything like that, like, if you feel comfortable, just reminding them that, hey, we live here.
We could send letters.
Okay.
If you know who they are and know the address, we can send from Lake-Bullard, we can send letters and ask them, please slow down.
Okay. I don't know them personally. I just know their cars that I see all the time. So I'm guessing that they live here.
If you get an address, we will be more than happy to send out a letter from the improvement district.
Okay. I'll try to pay more attention to that. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Do we have any more questions or comments?
We can also put something on the next postcard too, because that'll go to everybody.
Yeah, we had a little bit of space, almost a little bit of space on this one. I did just notice that there were a couple things in the comments. I know we're running a little bit late. Apologize for that. But Bertha asked, can security change up the hours more frequently? It may give residents more peace of mind. So the hours actually change based on what's been happening. So our hours are primarily overnight. We do sometimes split them and put patrols during the daytime if we see people have been breaking in cars during the daytime. We try to, Chief Rowe and Seal, they try to stay up to date with the best intel that they've got. They work with NOPD also to figure out, hey, where is crime happening? When is crime happening, to make best practices. So those hours, they do change. They do change sometimes weekly, but the changes are made with basically SEAL and NOPD comparing crime statistics in the area to best serve the area. Someone said they're not so concerned about the hours of patrol. Then I am trying to figure out what we can do to move the needle on incidents of crime in the neighborhood. I think the question of knowing the patrol hours does not address the larger crime issue. I happen to agree with that. The larger crime issue is people don't have money in the city. Most of our restaurants, bars, we're a service industry city. Those people are not working and they're trying to find any way they can eat. The biggest issue is we need help from our government to help the people who need support so they don't result to taking what you or I have. Everybody is not as fortunate to be working during this time. So I think that's the larger issue, and I think that's something that needs to be addressed with the city as well. More city services, but also the city doesn't have money because, well, there's no tax revenue coming in. So we're all kind of in a bad place. Bertha, again, I agree we don't need to know the on-duty hours if possible for, I'm sorry, I read, she wrote that twice. Another consideration from Lisa Stafford, another consideration with giving information to any resident who asks if there have been reports of actual residents or children of residents committing crimes in the area. I'm not sure I read that right.
Well, I just realized I didn't write it correctly. There have been reports of residents or children of residents who have committed crimes. So if we decide to give the information to everybody, you may be giving it to some people who would use that information to commit crime.
Okay. I'm not sure how, if legally they can, well, if it's someone under 17, we won't know because those records are sealed. We don't get to see that. But anyone 18 and older, we would know if they committed a crime. So we can look into that as well. Bertha also asks, how are those cameras affecting property values? It almost screams high crime neighborhood. To be honest, I see these red and blue cameras everywhere now. I think that it's just kind of baked into the cake of New Orleans that we live in a city with a lot of crime. I honestly don't think it's affecting our property values. As a real estate agent, houses in our subdivision come on the market and go off the market very quickly. We are a desired subdivision to live in. So I haven't studied it to see if the prices have dropped, but every house that comes on the market, I look and I see how long it takes to sell, and they do not last long. All right. Any other questions? I'll open the floor up one more time to see if any residents have a question or comment or anything they want to say. Okay, well, we will announce the March meeting soon. It'll probably be mid-March. We'll send out the postcards as we have been doing. We'll send out emails. If you guys can tell as many residents as you can because we want as much participation as we can get for the elections. After the elections, we will also have the discussion about the hours of security. We will open that up to residents to express their wants, concerns, and needs with it. And if residents want to maybe present something on it, if you let me know ahead of time, I can, arrange it where you'll be able to share your screen and show us whatever you want if you've got any things like that. And we will, Mtamishi, can we vote on that next meeting or do we have to talk about it?
Vote on what?
On whether we're going to release the hours to all residents or not.
If you want to vote on it, I think we as commissioners need to discuss it. That's all I'm recommending.
Okay.
We need to reevaluate and discuss it. I don't know if we want, if it's prudent to put it up for a vote.
Well, I mean, the residents have asked, and I would like to, I mean, like you said, maybe it stays the same, maybe it changes, but the residents have asked for a vote on it. I am not a dictator. I don't want to be. I think we should discuss it and then re-vote on the issue, whether it stays the same or it changes will happen in the next meeting.
Well, I don't know. I'm not suggesting that it's prudent to put that issue up for a vote. I don't know, but I think it's definitely prudent for the board, the commissioners, to get together and reevaluate, our position.
Can I say something?
Please.
I just want to make it clear that I'm not asking for everybody in the subdivision to have this information. I'm just saying if a member approaches you and says, I would like to know the hours, then they should be given that information. No, I understand why we're doing it like we are. I understand that we don't want the criminals to know when security is going to be there. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that if someone wants to know so that they can better protect their property, their lives, they should be given access to that information. That's all I'm saying. So,
Understood.
I hear what you're saying. If you give it to one, you got to give it to all. Everybody's not going to come to you and ask you for that information. Some people will be concerned about it. If you're concerned about it, you have a right to have that information. If you're not concerned about it, then don't offer it to them. So that's my point. And I just want to, be clear about that.
Understood. And again, we will discuss it at the next meeting. We're just trying to decide whether or not that there will be a vote. And I guess we can decide that.
We need to discuss at the next meeting, but we also need to discuss it as commissioners.
Yes.
Not necessarily at the next public meeting.
Yes, we can discuss that before the meeting.
Discuss it in addition to the next public meeting. In addition, we need to discuss it as commissioners, as long as we're not violating the public meetings law. And as I explained before, the public meetings law does not stop commissioners from discussing among ourselves as long as we're not discussing it in the context of a quorum.
Absolutely. And I agree. We can, the board members will discuss it amongst ourselves in accordance with the rules to make sure that we don't have a quorum. And then also during the meeting, we will discuss it publicly with a quorum and also have the residents input, any resident who wishes to speak.
Correct.
Yeah, so we're on the same page with that. My only question was, after that discussion, whether or not there's a vote. Obviously, if everyone is saying that they want this, then I believe there should be a vote. So we can address that. We can basically we can vote on that at the next meeting if there is a need, if that makes sense.
I have one other suggestion. When Chief Rowe gives us his crime statistics, if it's possible to include the times, if you can do that. The majority of the crimes are car break-ins, what time, assaults, what time happened, if that's possible.
What I'll do,
That would give.
so I don't actually, Chief Rowe doesn't give me this information. This information is available to me at any time. So what I'll do is when there are major issues, I can have that emailed. I can take those reports that I actually get, and I can email those to residents if that's what you're meaning.
Yeah, I'd just like to have an idea what time certain things are going on, because, you know, there
I'll be
are,
honest, it's been going on all day now. That's
Okay,
that's
well.
been the change. In the past, it was just, oh, nighttime, they were going crazy with car break-ins. Now they don't care. They are breaking in people's cars in broad daylight. They are very bold because most of them are under the age of 17, and they get arrested and they're released.
But that's not just
I can-
applying to car break-ins. I mean, that could go for anything else that's happening in the area
Yes.
as well.
Yes. So yeah,
Brian, Lisa, I think it may be helpful and more comforting to the residents if at one point we were sending out a regular list of everything that was happening so that they can be aware, just like Ms. Rosalind's asking for. If we could get back to that, Ms. Lisa, if you could help maybe help get that out via email or something like that, that may be more comforting to everyone so that they can see for themselves what's going on. And
I can
ultimately,
report weekly or monthly or daily. I would
Yeah.
like to not do daily because
no, not, it gets too much work. But I'm just either weekly, bi-weekly, or even monthly. I think that
I think bi-weekly.
once we have a meeting, it's like every 3 months. Was disconcerting to some of the homeowners. Maybe Ms. Rosalind, I may say that maybe that's what's disconcerting because it's when we have a meeting, it's like every 3 to 4 months. Maybe if we had it a little bit more often and regularly, then they would have the same understanding of what's going on as we as a board does. So maybe that would help. Would that help you, Ms. Rosalind? Feel a bit more comforting.
More communications, because right now we know
Right.
things are pretty bad in the east. So I think anything we can do to help the residents feel more safe would help. I think every little thing we can do would be, you know.
And I think, can I just also add that I think the underlying issue, and we're taking the brunt of it in New Orleans East, but the underlying issue is that NOPD and the city just does not have a good grasp on the crime in this city. That's the problem. On the state level, they don't have a good grasp on the state level because a lot of this is mental health issues that's undiagnosed and unattended to. And then we have a poverty issue in the city of New Orleans historically. So the city just does not have a good grasp on it, and now it's out of control because we have underlying laws and policies that have been institutionalized systematically that is now coming to fruition, and now it's out of control. So that's why I was asking if there's going to be something where we can start addressing some of these issues because they've got to do something. I have 2 small children myself, and I'm afraid the school is literally behind my house, but I won't allow them to go to school even when they were going to the actual school because I'm afraid of something happening even at 7 a.m. in the morning. Because just like Sean was saying, there's crime all day and night. And I work at the hospital over there. We have security and we have NOPD. And guess what? They're still breaking in the cars in broad daylight with security and NOPD. That's how brazen they are. So even if we got more security here, I don't think that will stop them. That's not deterring them. So we need to get a better handle on these people, the individuals that are doing it, and either by policy, law, or something. But us getting more security, I think we can have all the security we want. Right now, a friend of mine went to the gas station right down the street on not Lake Forest, but right there on Bullard. And at 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, a guy got out of the car with an AK-47 in his jacket in broad daylight down the street where we shot with my children. I'm afraid to even bring them down the street. So that's what they need to get a handle on. I mean, it's out of control, and we need to start making them accountable because just like Brian said, we pay them too much money. What are you doing? And maybe and just like Tanisha said, they're mismanaging their departments. The other day, I'm going to work and I see 4 NOPD police officers patrolling and protecting an empty building on Lake Forest. It's an empty building, it's a construction site, but we have human beings living in the residence in a subdivision right down the street where a lot of people are walking up and down, which I'm glad to see a lot of people out there walking up and down Lake Forest, but they're not even patrolling there, but they're patrolling an empty building. That's more important to them. That's what's
Those
concerning.
overtime officers, is that overtime that they're using to patrol?
I have no idea.
That's probably a paid detail that they're working.
Yeah, and that's usually done with overtime, and that might be part of the mismanagement that Intamishi is talking about because, well, you've got officers working overtime details, patrolling empty buildings, but we can't get officers to do overtime and patrol our neighborhoods.
Yeah, it's not usually overtime dollars. What happens is the owner of that development will reach out to NOPD and say, look, I'll pay your officers to guard my building. And they pay, NOPD has a program where if you want to engage your officers to do a detail, you pay to this program and that program pays the officers to do that detail. It doesn't come out of their budget funds.
It sounds like it comes out of their manpower though.
It does come out of their manpower.
Right,
And
because if
that's
manpower is a
mismanagement.
problem,
That should
Right.
be overtime. That should be additional.
Absolutely.
Instead of taking away from the people who can patrol our neighborhoods.
right.
So there's plenty of things that we need to have addressed. But you are absolutely correct. We can send out more information. I will work on
But
doing.
let me just cut in because I want to make sure y'all know that accurate information. Those officers that were detailed are not on patrol officers. They're supposed to do that on off time when they're not on duty. So they're working. Details cannot be worked while an officer is actually scheduled to be on duty. So those are off-duty officers working private details paid by private entities.
Mark, I think what Brian is saying is they could have had those officers working overtime
Yeah, now I agree with
as
that.
opposed to doing details.
Yeah, but they'll make less money doing that.
Yeah, but NOPD shouldn't be in the business of making money. They should be in the business of keeping us safe.
No, I mean the individuals, the officers,
Oh.
not the.
And maybe we need to talk to the mayors in the city and the city council about why are they paying them so low? I mean, we have the same issue in nursing right now, but and Louisiana is now addressing it. Now they have to pay them. So maybe we wouldn't lose so many officers if they would just pay them. Maybe that's something we need to look at as a city.
Yeah.
But either way it goes, that's just something that needs to be discussed.
And again, like I said, your suggestion of actually sending out more information instead of just presenting the analysis at meetings, I would be more than happy to present it maybe on a bi-weekly basis so people can see what's happening. But keep in mind, these numbers will only be for the 8 hours a day that are patrolled. So believe it or not, lots of the things that happen won't be in this report. But again, we're trying to send those out. If I hear, hey, a car break-in happened, I get on with Lisa and Lisa sends us out an email saying, this just happened, stay vigilant. But that we only get that information as fast as we get it in. So please, if I've always been open, my phone number, I'll put in the text box. If anybody witnesses anything or sees anything going in there, shoot me a text message. If I am up, I will go ahead and try to get an email out to all residents saying, hey, be vigilant. This just happened in our subdivision. You know, I try to be as accessible as I can. I'm putting my cell phone number in the chat right now for anyone to see. I'll call it out, 504-339-3136. If you tell me you just witnessed something happen in our subdivision, I will do my best to get it out so everyone knows it. Communication is key. That's going to help because if you just had your car window break in, they're usually just going down the street to break someone else's. So maybe we can turn on some lights or stand outside to let them know that we see you. So that's a great suggestion. Like I said, I'm going to start putting that together to see if we can get that out every 2 weeks.
Right. A thought about that, letting them see you. There were cases where people were looking out their windows and they pointed guns at them, you know, so that you have to be careful.
Yeah, and definitely we do not want to put anybody in harm's way. We don't want you to try to stop them. We don't want you, be safe. We don't want anyone to get hurt because obviously they killed a woman in IHOP's parking lot. You know, they were trying to carjack her. So they're getting bolder. When all of this started, they were just pulling on car door handles. Then they escalated to breaking windows. Now they've escalated to murders. So please keep yourself safe. Don't do anything to put you at risk. Call NOPD, call 911. Because the one thing that they tell me when I say we don't have officers in our subdivision or we don't have officers in the East, they say, well, nobody calls the police. They don't have a record of it. And if there's no record of a crime, when they're looking, where do I need to send more officers next month? They say, well, we don't have any calls from here, even though we've had 100 break-ins, maybe 10 people call. So the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Call NOPD as much as you can. Annoy them with it if you feel like you are, because they need to hear that we have crime happening here. So they remember that when they start allocating resources. All right, unless there are any more questions, we are very over on the meeting.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Walker here. Motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you,
All
Sister
those in
Johnson.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned. I'm going to stay on for another 5 or 10 minutes if anybody wanted to talk to me personally or had anything they wanted to say, but you are all free to leave unless you wanted to just speak with me off record.